So today's session is really to look at In-Folio, to uncover just a bit of a background. It was created by the Rix Centre. Now the Rix Centre is actually a multimedia advocacy centre which is part of the University of East London, and they work with a whole range of organisations across the UK. They are a charitable research and development organisation, and the focus of the Rix Centre is multimedia advocacy. And they were involved in helping to develop the In-Folio. And really what happened was In-Folio was designed by independent specialist colleges in England and Wales. So colleges that were discrete colleges, part funded by charitable sort of status. There's independent specialist colleges, for example, run by the RNIB, by Enable, by other organisations who dedicate and focus specifically on the needs of learners with additional support needs, with learning disabilities and other support needs. And I think the colleges who were really looking to develop their resources for learners were clear. Quite a few colleges came together and decided that the e-portfolio systems that existed really didn't meet the needs of their learners. You know, they looked to others and they felt that they weren't meeting the needs of the student group that they were working with. But what they did was they approached TechDis. I think TechDis had managed to identify some funding through some of the English funding streams. So they used that money to work with the Rix Centre to develop In-Folio, and In-Folio was launched in 2009, and just over the last couple of years we've been looking at deploying this and using it and supporting colleges in Scotland in the use of In-Folio as well. But before we start, I would like to actually ask you if you could use the poll, and I want to ask you to just, above where all the names are, there's a wee tick box, and I want you to respond yes or no. I'm going to ask how many of you have used e-portfolios with any students who have disabilities or support needs before. So I wondered if you could take just a couple of minutes and just tick yes or no. Have any of you used any kind of e-portfolios before? And what we'll do is we will make that visible. So we have, so far, 7 people said they don't use it, and they've never used it, and nobody has used it. 7 people have responded, so thank you. I'm just trying to make this, there you are, there's the poll. So basically what everybody's saying is 7 people are saying they haven't used it, and the rest are saying that they've not used anything before. So so nobody's used e-portfolios, particularly with students with barriers to learning. Okay, that's just useful baselines so that we can work from there. Okay, well thank you for that. What we're doing is we're going to look at In-Folio. We're going to look at what In-Folio looks like. We're going to look at the administrative features of In-Folio. We're going to think and look at some case studies of how colleges have used In-Folio, and very, very importantly, what students think of this. So really this is a whistle-stop tour. So what is it? Well, I guess like any e-portfolio, it is a digital entity. It is the opportunity for somebody to present their experience, their knowledge, their skills, their achievements digitally. And I think that there are e-portfolios that exist, Mahara being one, and others as well, that allow people to not just record in a text or linear way the achievements that they have attained, but also using multimedia, using images, etc., links to examples of work or projects that they may be involved in. And that's fine, but quite a few of the colleges that certainly we've worked with In-Folio had used other tools before, but they just felt that maybe the interface wasn't as intuitive, wasn't as user-friendly as they needed to be for their learners and for their support needs, and they were looking for something different. And this is what the independent specialist colleges felt when they started to look at In-Folio as another option. So In-Folio provides an opportunity to record and store evidence in a way that's much more multisensory: video, audio, images. It has built-in text-to-speech, and we'll touch on that later. this whole thing about digital literacy, I think that one of the benefits of something like this is it does provide the opportunity for learners to demonstrate their digital literacies. And we'll have a look at that later. But, you know, rather than a very linear text-based way of demonstrating what somebody has done, being able to record on video and capture by image, you know, what somebody has achieved and embedding it within a new portfolio is something that is important. And I think probably the most important of all is learner-owned content. And we'll see examples later on of how learners have had real ownership of this and been able to use it not only to demonstrate their knowledge and skills and their experience for prospective employers or for others who might be viewing it, but for family as well, for families to see how their learners, how their, you know, their son, daughter, brother, sister, friend has been getting on at college. So what does it look like? What does a folio look like? What I'm going to do is I've got some screen grabs and we're going to quickly go through some of these screen grabs just so that you can get an idea of what In-Folio actually looks like. So first of all, what you'll see is we had a big login. We had a login, a URL down at the bottom of the screen here that TechDisc gave us. And TechDisc, I should explain that TechDisc are the advisory services of Jisc who have helped develop this. But not only that, they host In-Folio on their server, which has been very useful for many people because that whole kind of hosting issue for some people has been a problem. But they host this on their server, and the big URL at the bottom, info2.justtechdisc.ac.uk, was quite long for people to get used to. So what we did was we created this tiny URL. We created an abbreviated URL, and with the help of some colleagues we created a very visual symbol-based link so that people could see not only the link but the kind of demonstration of how people might log in using your keyboard. So we simplified the login, and when people logged in, this is an older screen grab. There are 8 Scottish FE colleges who are currently using In-Folio at the moment. There was an RSC Scotland page, so the student or the member of staff could see the college logo. They knew that that was their college, and they would log in to that particular In-Folio link, and it would take them in from there. In terms of logging in, well, there was 2 options. There's a username and password. So, you know, it was something that we'd all tried to keep very simple and very straightforward. But there was also the picture password, and I think, you know, this is something that was quite nice for people because there was a chance for people to add their secret clicks somewhere. Now, it could be the dogs, and this is my dog Murphy, who's sadly no longer with us, but my lovely doggy Murphy. So I would have clicked on maybe my nose and Murphy's nose, and that was my secret login. So a student could do that. They could choose their own login, and in some ways, you know, there was a novelty element there as well, but also maybe it was easier for somebody to remember a very visual password. This is how In-Folio looks. You know, I would use the analogy of a web page where you've got a tab. So, you know, you can see that we have, you know, a tab here for work, a tab for hobbies, a tab for Scotland, for voluntary work, for holidays. So what happens is there are various tabs. You can have as many tabs as you like. But within that tab you had pages, and I have 2 pages here. I have my Learning Ambassadors page and my Learn About My Work. You can have as many pages as you like within that. But then within the page you have blocks, and you can have as many blocks as you like. So really, I like the analogy of a web page where, you know, people are used to that. But people are used to the idea of tabs on a web page. But you've got tabs, you've got pages, and you've got blocks in In-Folio. Tabs are the main signpost. You can see them along the top. Pages are a means of organizing information, and once you click on a tab, you see the pages. And then you have your blocks. So your blocks then provide information about that particular individual and what they do. And you can see here we have images. You can add up to 2 images in each block. You've got some text. It's hard to see here, but just where the wee hand is pointing under the white text, there is a sort of an arrow key. That's a sort of text-to-speech key. Now the Scottish In-Folio installation has a Scottish voice. It's not the most eloquent of Scottish voices, but it is a Scottish voice. And what that would do is that would read back the text on the screen. So, you know, for some learners who maybe were demonstrating this information to friends, colleagues, others, especially if somebody was articulating to another college or another part of a college or somewhere else, maybe being able to present this, and rather than having to read the text, they could use a text-to-speech which would read it for them. So there's a text-to-speech feature. I should say you can also change the colour and background. You can see I've got a red background here. I could choose to make that yellow. I could choose to make it green or blue. And I've inverted the colour here, so you know I've got a white text on a black background. I could change that. I could change that as well. So there are different ways of customising the look of an individual's In-Folio. I've mentioned the text-to-speech, and I think that's a really useful feature. It will read back the text within that particular block. Another thing that you can do with In-Folio is obviously you can add your multimedia, and in the top of the In-Folio page there's something called My Collections, and that's where you would add all your images, you know, your sound files, all your multimedia. You would be going in to add it all into your My Collection. So that's one thing that has to be done before you can then populate your In-Folio. And once you've done that, you would go to the point where you would actually add your images. And I'm really, you know, we don't need to spend too much time on this because this is just a quick demo, but it is where you would use your Browse tab to upload images to your My Collections before you then populate all your pages. There are admin features, and as a member of staff who would be working with this, and I know that when we've been involved in working with colleges and supporting them, you know, we've helped provide background support and not just helping set everything up, but then providing a wee bit more training in some of the admin features. But as administrator, a member of staff has the opportunity as user manager to view users' activities, to create new users. And as you can see, this is just one example where there are 21 students in this particular installation. So, you know, as a user manager, you can do a number of things, including add new users and view people's activity. But you can also do things like you can create groups. So here are some examples. You might have a lot of individual students, and you could pull them into a group, and this is the Expressive Arts group. Now, the great thing about that is, once you've done that, you can assign those groups different things. You can create templates for them. You can upload images to that particular group, which means everybody in that group gets the images that you've given them. So that's quite useful. Also, things like Template Manager. Now, you've seen earlier the images where you've got your different tabs or your different pages. As an administrator, you might decide that you want to add two tabs that every learner within your group would have. It might be independent living, and within that you might add a couple of pages cooking and cleaning. So you would provide a structure, if you like, for that particular group of students. So the admin features are useful. We're not going to dwell too much on them, but just to say that there are some nice admin features. Not only that, you can then choose to share your In-Folio. You can choose to share your In-Folio by providing someone a URL. Now you can see this is a massive big URL, but you can shorten that and provide them with that link. You can reset that URL, so you can decide within a week, I'm going to share that link, and then after a week I'm going to reset it. So it might be that if you were, for example, going to meet a prospective employer, or you were maybe working with, I don't know, the job, the job centre, or maybe you're going to a college and you want to share with your prospective course tutor who's meeting you a wee bit about, maybe not so much about your holidays, but you might want to share maybe your voluntary work, your life skills, and some work experience. Well, you could select those tabs and share them with that particular individual. And you can export it as well, and you have the option to export In-Folio. So there's a few things you can do with it. I think this is probably the most important facet how have further education colleges used In-Folio? And I think for me that's probably the most important part of this session. There are a number of colleges who were involved initially in a trial and then have used it and rolled it out. And New College Lanarkshire, who were Cumbernauld College at the time of the study, were involved in looking at using this with their expressive arts course, supported learning programme. They had used Mahara before on some of the mainstream programmes, but felt that maybe this was too complicated for students on supported learning programs to embark on. So they were interested in In-Folio because it had a clear and simple navigation. The students could create their own tabs. There was different ways to log in, they liked that. It was customizable, they could choose different colours, schemes. They liked the text-to-speech. They liked the way that In-Folio was hosted on the TechDisk server because it meant there was no impact on the college resources in terms of hosting or maintaining this. But the college staff were given administrative rights, as you've seen, to upload materials for learners and create new learner profiles. But the most important thing was they used it as a recording tool to record the work that students did in class. They used it to underpin and consolidate what learners were experiencing, what they were learning. So that was really useful for New College Lanarkshire. Dumfries and Galloway College were using In-Folio. And they were using it for a Skills Start course, which included quite a variety of abilities within their class, working towards access level 2 or 3 in communication and numeracy. So they really liked the idea of using it to create a CV of learner achievements. They had a tab for each subject, and they used it as a basis for their kind of learning support plan. And this is something that was done previously as a paper-based document, so they liked the idea of using In-Folio as a digital opportunity to present information. Borders College used In-Folio for assessment purposes. They were involved in, wanted a system really that was very easily accessible, and they decided that they were involved in a Sitting Guilds course, and they wanted to use this to present the students' achievements. So they consulted with the Sitting Guilds assessors. They had a look at it. They seemed to be happy with the possibility of using this. And what the tutor did was she dictated the tabs. Remember when we saw the earlier admin features, you could choose tabs for your learners in a particular group. So they created predetermined tabs that would meet the unit assessment criteria. And then what the students did was they populated them with their own activities. And they were keen to use that to promote independence, and also for the learners, it was they felt that it really enhanced the learners' self-esteem because they were doing this themselves. So that was Borders College. Glasgow Kelvin College, it was Cardonald campus at the time, were using this on their Moving to Independence course. They really were, the students were quite IT literate, and they were already using hyperlinks, they were already using embed codes when they were using YouTube videos. But what they decided to do is they wanted to use something that was much less paper-based, and this first image was an example of the evidence that they would collate prior to using In-Folio for their course, and I think they felt that this was very paper-based, it was very text-orientated. Students were maybe much more passive in that process, which they weren't particularly happy with. So they felt it was a very significant journey from students who were using traditional text-laden packs either to record their achievements to something that was much more electronic. And this image here is actually very interesting because these are students at the end of the course showing lecturers how to use In-Folio, teaching lecturers how to use embed codes, how to use hyperlinks, how to add multimedia. So that was great, and I think what happened was they recorded all the work that they were doing across that week, the classes they were in, and each student each day had a responsibility for taking the camera and capturing their fellow students that day. And at the end of the week on the Friday, they all got together, they took this SD card from the camera, they shared the images, and they uploaded them onto their In-Folios, and that was fantastic. Big responsibility for those taking the images, but also something that was very real and very relevant for the learners, summarising what they'd done in the week. What was nice as well was, the lecturer on the Friday session although it was an electronic entity, they used a paper-based and a very visual way of planning what they were going to do. So they chose the images that they would put into their In-Folio for their subjects. They thought beforehand about the text that they would put in, and the lecturer helped if the student had a literacy issue, so that then the student could take that away and add it to their In-Folio at the end of the week. And I think one of the legacies from this particular college was that they had a letter from one of the students, Neil. The lecturer received a letter from Neil's parents saying, "This has been great because Neil has been able to show us, using the link, he's been able to show us the work he's been doing at college, when before that we would have asked Neil what he was doing at college that week and he'd say, well, a bit of this, a bit of that." But we were able to see, we were able to watch the video clips, we were able to see the images of what he'd achieved. So not only from an employability or you know, a kind of articulation perspective, even in terms of the digital literacies, sharing information with friends, family, etc. So that was quite a powerful case study. Perth College have done some wonderful work with In-Folio. They were using it on their social and vocational program, and they were using it with school leavers, with school link courses, I should say. So they had students coming in from different schools to get a taste of what the college would be about. And what they wanted to do was to give the students a chance to try using technology in a particular way. What they decided to do, after a year of using In-Folio with PCs, they decided that they would like to try using this with Galaxy tabs. So they used Samsung Galaxy Tabs. They felt that it gave the students a chance that's much more mobile. Rather than sitting around a room with computers, they were sitting around a table. They could go away and use the tabs to capture images and capture multimedia to upload to their In-Folio, and that was really useful. The tutor again dictated, a bit like Borders College, what the tabs would be to give the students some structure. She felt that would be really important and really useful for them. So that was really fantastic. But not only that, what they did was they added in Google Documents. So they created some tabs that provided some information about the students. Bear in mind, the students who were school link pupils were new to the college. So what they did was, as well as having tabs where students inputted information about their needs, about their achievements, about their skills, they had a tab about Perth College. So they provided information for the learners. So information on who to contact, subjects they'd like to take, situations they don't like in class, college map, general information about the college. And I think that was really powerful because In-Folio then became a two-way thing rather than a one-way passage of information. So this Google Docs that they were able to embed, for example here, in the right-hand image was things I'd like to help with at college. So the student was able to put down information here about what they would like, what they would need in terms of their support, needing help with spelling, maybe needing help finding their way around college. And that was really quite powerful. So they're using the Google Documents, they were able to embed this information in. Not only that, they were using the tabs. So two very innovative ways of using technology. I think for me the other very powerful thing about this was that the college had used student mentors. And this is an example of Daniel, who had been a mentor. He had been in a school link program previously, and he had been using In-Folio the year before, so he was coming along as a learner ambassador, if you like. What I'm actually going to do is, we're running short of time, but I'm going to put a link in the text chat pane, and if you press on that link, that'll take you to Daniel's video. It's only 2 minutes, 3 minutes long. So I'd like you to, if I add this link, I'd like you to click on that link. It'll take you to the video. I'd like you to watch it. And when you finish watching it, come back and type in the box, done, and I'll know that you're all back. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to watch the video clip in the chat pane, follow the link, and watch the video clip. And I'll see you back in 3 minutes. Hello, Candy. I'm sorry to hear you're having some problems. I do apologise. I'm assuming because we haven't heard from anybody else that everybody's managing to get it, but not to worry. Stay with us. It was just a 3-minute video clip, and hopefully the rest will be back with us soon. But you'll get the link anyway with the recording. We'll be sending you out a recording of this with the links. So hopefully this will be something that you can have the chance to look at after this, Candy. Do apologise about that. Nice to see you here again, Candy. It's good to have you at our webinars. So hopefully the others, great. So there's 1 or 2 people who've watched it. We've got Kevin back in the room. Back in the room. Kevin's back in the room. Sarah's back in the room. Welcome back. Good. And hopefully we'll have, yep, great. We've got Nikki back. Good. We're slowly starting to have everybody join us back again. That's wonderful. I'm so relieved that you've managed to come back. I hope that we hadn't lost you, but great. Welcome back, everybody. I just hope that that just gives you a wee bit of an insight into a learner perspective. Daniel had been a mentor, had been a student on the School Link. Daniel had now had the responsibility of working on his own portfolio, his own e-folio, but also working with students who were still at school and helping to support them in using their In-Folio, and a wonderful advocate, I suppose, of a student who had been at school and moved on. So that would have been a great support and mentor for others. I just think that's quite a powerful testimony. We do have other testimonies and case studies of other learners who have used it. But I think thinking about articulation from school to college, I think that there are many benefits, for In-Folio, and this is just a quote from Sal Cook, who's the director of TECDIS. She was talking about the articulation from an independent specialist college who was moving on to their own local authority in England, and the idea that it gave students the ability to move that information with them, to take those achievements, the likes, the dislikes, and a sense of kind of support plan and the information about them with them. So I think there's quite powerful potential in a tool like this. I'm just showing you before we're just really coming to an end, because I think that we're running out of time, but we will send you some links and you will be able to watch the presentation again and share it with others. But TECDIS have created some great resources. As I've mentioned, TECDIS host In-Folio. Here at the RSC Scotland, we've supported colleges in Scotland in using it. We've provided some training and some support, as has TECDIS. But also there are some fantastic web-based resources that provide great insights into In-Folio as a backup, or if you want to review it, or if you want to just go over it again before you're embarking on it with learners, or even if you're thinking this is something I'd like to do in our college. There are a couple of other case studies about how learners have used it to support employability, and again we'll send you those links. And also TECDIS has a fantastic information page, which gives you a wee bit more information about In-Folio. So there is information there, as well as our RSC Scotland showcase, which provides some really nice video, some case studies about how the colleges have used In-Folio, including those that we've talked about today. So it has been a bit of a whistle-stop tour. I do hope that it's not been too rushed. I hope it's made some sense. And I really do hope that it's given you a wee bit of insight into what In-Folio is and what it can do and how it's been used. And if you want to ask any questions, you're more than welcome to do so. If you can do that by adding your question in the text chat pane. Equally, if you don't, or you want to come back to us, you can do so. Jerry's good question, can In-Folio be integrated into Moodle? That's a question I'm not 100% sure about. I know that you can export it and there's a sort of SCORM compliance, Jerry. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that you have the potential to export it and embed it into other things, and I think you might be able to, but that's something I could follow up and come back to you on. I knew there'd be technical questions. Yes, I'll check that out and get back to Jerry at Dundee if that's okay. I think the main thing that I've seen people using this for is sharing the links, sharing the web-based. But I know that you can export it, and I think that you can use it in other ways. So I hope that's. A student can keep it after college. That right now the TechDisc are hosting this. They've never deleted any of the In-Folio resources that they've set up and they've used at all. So that means those web links and the In-Folio episodes stay live, and the students can keep on using it. They can show it, that nothing's closed down. And I think what TechDisc are happy with is that there's not such a massive use of it right across the UK. They're based at the Higher Education Academy in York. That so far right now they've not had any issues with keeping the In-Folio accounts ongoing. So there's never been any accounts closed down at all. So good question, Sarah. Sarah, can the layout be formatted to completely match the existing college materials? The other thing I should say, just to add to the question that Sarah's asking, the other thing I should have added in the pages is you can attach Word documents. You can attach PowerPoint. You can attach PDFs to it as well. Jerry and Sarah are asking two similar questions. Can it be formatted to look look like college branding or material? I'm not quite sure how much change you can do with it, but if that was something that people were interested in looking at and they were looking to take this forward, what I would do is I would hook you up and link with and help facilitate conversations with Lisa at TechDisc and Michael, who are the two people who have been working with In-Folio, and that would be something that we could take forward if you were interested in finding out more about those things. Okay. So what would be the first step to make this happen? A very good question. The very first thing you would do is come back to me personally, and my email address. I'll ask Teresa to put my glasgow.ac.uk address in the text pane. But basically, you would come back to me, and if you were interested in setting up an account, I would facilitate that in collaboration with TechDisc. For the colleges that we're funded to support all further education colleges across Scotland, we would come out. What we've done before is we've done a wee introduction at your own college, maybe a couple of staff that you think might be interested in hearing about this. We've done a wee bit of an introduction. We've set up a couple of accounts for staff to play with if they want to, just to see what it's like. Chance to look at the case studies that already exist. And then if you think, right, maybe next academic year I'd like to try this out with staff, then what we would do is we would set up accounts for you and support you really in running it. Teresa's very kindly put in my my email address, but I know we have a Sarah Mackay with an MAC and Margaret Mackay with an MC. I'll give Teresa Duffy into trouble for this afterwards. She should know better. No, thank you, Ted. Thank you very much, Ted. It's Margaret.mckay. I'm always making that mistake with other people's names. So, but please do email me if you want to take this forward. So that's really the session over. I want to thank you for joining me and attending. Ted is Teresa Duffy's very kindly given two options for my email address. So do get back to me if you want to take that further, folks. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a good lunchtime. I hope you have a good Wednesday. And we'll see you again at another session. Thank you very much. Cheers now. Bye, everybody.